Welcome to the Rational Review. This is your host, LeMay. Let's get into it.
Biological sex is a fact. It's a reality.
Men and women are different. Let's look at some of the biological differences.
Female body is its wider pelvis. This evolutionary adaptation to childbearing gives rise to differences in male and female body movements, and also in the postures we adopt in ordinary everyday life. The human pelvis doesn't just influence the way we walk or run, it also affects the way in which we sit down. There are 4 different kinds of leg crossing. There's the knee-knee cross, in which one knee goes on top of the other. There's the ankle-knee cross, in which the ankle goes on top of the knee. There's the ankle-ankle cross, like that, which is a more formal one. And then there's one that women can do and men find very hard. I can't even do it, which is to twine one leg right around the other, so this foot goes behind that. I can't do it. Some men can, but it's predominantly a female leg cross. Now, of these 4 kinds of leg crossing, this one is predominantly male, the twine is predominantly female, and the other 2 don't have any particular gender bias. Now, that's the theory, but what happens in practice? Let's look now at some leg crossing in benches all around here in Los Angeles to see whether, in fact, the gender bias really does exist. All we did was to ask people to sit down and cross their legs, but we didn't tell them how to cross them. Many of the women favored the knee-knee cross, placing one knee on top of the other. Occasionally, there was an ankle-ankle cross, as here on the right. When men sat down and crossed their legs, they showed a much stronger preference for heaving an ankle up on top of a knee, the predicted male speciality, the ankle-knee cross. When we specifically asked both men and women to perform the leg twine with one foot wrapped around the back of the other leg, the women found it easy, but not the men.
Oh, that's hard.
This simple test revealed a body gender difference of which the men were not even aware.
What? Is this a joke? Too fast.
No.
It's not as good as I can do.
Female.
So remember, he said that the way we walk and run and pretty much everything else we do is dependent upon our body. You know, so women and men do things differently. I just ran into this. It's kind of interesting.
All humans on Earth were once females. The reason is that during the early weeks, while still in the womb, all embryos develop as female. Embryos only start transitioning to male when testosterone is produced, which only begins around the 8th week of gestation. However, before this time frame, the embryo has already developed the components for milk production in females. This is also the reason that while both males and females possess this feature, females can utilize it, whereas in males it is nearly vestigial and discarded. In essence, we all were initially females, but for some the development proceeded as usual, while for others a gender transition occurred, making them males.
So we only changed because of testosterone. Here's another one I found about the gender differences and studies that back it up.
Boys and girls have different interests, and it's biological. It's not a social construct, meaning they're not encouraged by the society or their parents. There are many studies showing that young children between the ages of 3 to 8, when given the choice, a child would usually pick a toy that's associated with their own gender. So for example, a boy would usually pick a toy car, and a girl would usually pick a doll. And they've done similar studies on non-human primates as well, like chimpanzees, and the results are the same. So in conclusion, boys and girls, men and women have different interests, and it's okay. Boys and girls...
Men and women do have different interests. Boys and girls have different interests. Yeah, now you have some people over here saying, I wonder what could have influenced a 3 to 8-year-old kid pick the car instead of the doll. Maybe the society that they very much live in. And it's like, yeah, I get what you're saying, but, you know, there's just too much evidence anecdotal and scientific that shows that, boys naturally gravitate towards boy things. We're rough and tumble. We like getting dirty. We like, doing boy stuff, and girls are more, uh, what, what's the right word? Peaceful. More peaceful, calm, like playing with dolls and stuff like that, like doing more social games, where guys like doing more physical stuff. Just always how I've kind of seen it. I'm sure others have seen it too. What do y'all think? Y'all think the same way, or do y'all think differently? Let me know in the comments. I got another one here that talks a little bit about the I don't know, mentality or other types of biological differences going on. Let's see what he has to
Can
say.
we agree that the biggest problem we have with most of our relationships today is that we forget that men and women are wired differently? Women are more naturally in touch with their emotions. They feel things much more deeply than men do. And we constantly forget this because the majority of us men traditionally are taught to approach our problems and concerns with logic and solutions, sometimes overlooking the emotional undercurrents.
He said we're taught, which, yeah, we are taught a little bit, but I think it's because we naturally go the side of logic, because it just works better for us.
Which doesn't do us any good because we get real dismissive of things when it doesn't make logical sense, but that isn't exactly fair to women, especially when she's seeking empathy rather than solutions. Like when she comes up to you all frazzled and upset, it might not make sense to you right away, but remember, she might not be looking for an instant fix. She's probably just looking for an ear and someone to validate those feelings that are so real and pressing to her. Like imagine she's had a rough day and all the technical details don't really add up to you. Instead of asking the whys and the hows, try just saying, "That sounds really tough. Tell me more about it."
That is really good advice. That sounds really tough. You're validating how she feels, and then tell me more about it so she can tell you more about how she feels or what she needs out of the situation.
It's not about giving up your logic, it's about adding a dash of empathy to the mix. Think about it as her needing a sounding board rather than a solution manual. And this isn't about pigeonholing anyone, we're all different, and these emotional landscapes can vary widely, even beyond gender. But acknowledging these differences, especially the emotional depth that many women naturally navigate, can help bridge that communication gap. It's not about reinforcing stereotypes, but understanding each other's unique perspectives and needs to create harmony in our relationships, that's all. Can we
So I love where he's coming from with this, but the part that I don't like is he didn't do the men's side. What's one thing that women could do to understand men better? You know, um, I don't know, maybe when a man is talking to you about something that's going on, realize he's not talking about his emotions all the time. He might just be talking about, it might be from frustration, but he's trying to figure out logically how to solve a problem sometimes. So, approaching with, "Oh, how did that make you feel?" or, "Tell me more about it." You might want to ask, "Oh, what do you think are some ways that you can fix it? Where are some things you think that might work?" Just on the top of my head, I don't know. What do y'all think? Let me know in the comments below. What are some things that women understanding about men, and some suggestions on how to approach men, and then the other way around, how men should approach women with situations like this. All right, I looked up comparison of the sexes. So, while some differences in specific cognitive abilities exist between men and women, research generally indicates that there are no significant differences in overall general intelligence between the sexes. Some studies show that males might show slightly higher scores on some visual spatial and spatial reasoning tests, while females may exhibit slightly higher scores on verbal tests. However, these differences are often small and don't necessarily translate into an advantage for either sex in overall intelligence. And this is the nice chart that they have here. So down here on the bottom is IQ score. Over here is probability density. So so this little article here just describes what the probability density function is. And so it's basically the density of the population, how many people are in that area. All right, so let's go back to this chart. So when you get wider vertically, there's more people in that area. So it shows that women, the red line, they have, what is this? The intelligence stays about the same for the small population of women, and then more women, most women are, or not most women, the lower side of women kind of starts going up here, up to here, where the most women are, in the middle. Okay, so most women are in the middle average. That's where the most are. Men, the blue line, intelligence starts going up. I don't know. So it looks like there's more stupid men than women, which is kind of interesting. But then it goes up to there being less middle range men, and then over here it shows that there's more men who are intelligent all the way up to we getting to the top ends. So here, this line here shows what I found somewhere else that says men are slightly smarter on average, which would be taking the whole chart and doing an average on it. Okay, but so we got more smart men over here, and we got more dumb men over here. So the dumb men, you could argue, are in prison or, messed up, homeless, whatever. Average men, just like the average women, there's more average women than men. And then as we get into the higher intelligence area, there's more smart men than women. So overall, this chart tells me there's more smart men than women, but there's also more dumb men than women. All right, let's look at another one. Sex differences, intelligence, and brain size. A paradox resolved. So the abstract, I thought this was kind of interesting. So males have larger brains than females. Even when corrected for body size, the brain size is positively correlated with intelligence, which means the bigger the brain, the more intelligence, the smaller the brain, the less intelligent. So this leads to the expectation that males would have a higher average level of intelligence than females. Yet the consensus view, which is what everybody believes, is that there is no sex difference in general intelligence. Sorry. An examination of the literature shows that the consensus view is wrong. So what everybody believes that we're all equal is wrong. Among adults, males have slightly higher verbal and reasoning abilities than females and more pronounced superiority on spatial abilities. If the three abilities are combined to form general intelligence, the mean for males is 4 IQ points higher than the mean for females. Except for among children, around the age of 14 years old, the sex differences are smaller because girls mature faster than boys. Then it goes to talk about how the evolutionary selection pressure is responsible for greater intelligence than males are discussed, which, would be hunting, building, all the jobs that we've taken on over the years. Here's another one I just want to show you that gender differences and measurement bias in the assessment of adult intelligence. Evidence from the Italian Weiss 4 and Weiss R standardizations. You can go look at it if you want, but it basically, says that pretty much the same thing, that men score a little bit higher, but they also state that it might be because of bias of the test, where the test might be designed more to test abilities that they're associated with men. So, I mean, it's a interesting point, and they may have some validity to it. All right, so I went to ChatGPT. Is there a big difference in intelligence if the difference is 4 IQ points? Let's see what it has to say. IQ scores are typically measured on a scale where the average is 100. Deviation is 15. That means most people fall within about 15 points above or below the average. 4 points is a minor variation. A 4-point difference is well within the range of normal day-to-day fluctuation, does not present a meaningful gap in intellectual ability. So we have some tests and some statistics showing us that we have some smarter men, some dumber men. We have another study showing that men are 4 IQ points higher on average, but then, ChatGPT tells us that with IQ points, it's not much of a noticeable difference.
Men leave physically first, women leave emotionally first. That's why men have the one that got away, and women have the man I forgave over and over again to my own detriment. Men leave suddenly, women leave silently. The divorce came out of nowhere. No. She didn't stop fighting, she just stopped repeating herself.
And once again, if you keep doing the same thing over and over again, that is like the definition of insanity. So women that are being emotional, putting all their emotion in the relationship, you keep saying the same thing over and over again, and the guy isn't getting it, nothing's changing. Either the guy doesn't like you and doesn't care about you, which is most of the time not the case, or you need to try to figure out some way to communicate.
When a woman brings up her emotions and concerns, that's her fighting for the relationship. You call that nagging, when really she's fighting to connect. She's fighting to get on the same page. Every time she voiced her pain and you gave her a long list of all the reasons why she shouldn't feel that way, you thought you were fixing the problem, when really you were just teaching her how to live without you.
See, the guy was trying to help, trying to give a list of how to fix all the problems and stuff, not understanding that you're upset emotionally. A help for this would be, I'm upset about the relationship. I'm not happy in the relationship. We need to figure something out, because when I come and talk to you and try to tell you about my feelings, you try to give me logical ways to fix it, but that's not what I want. And then you need to sit there and actually tell him what you want. You can't expect a man that doesn't get it to just suddenly get it. Most of the time we're willing to listen, we're willing to adapt, we're even willing to change a lot of stuff sometimes. Or not a lot of stuff sometimes, most of the time. I know I changed tons of stuff trying to figure out how to make like my kid's mom happy and stuff. It's hard. Especially, at least some women communicate, but mine, she didn't even want to communicate. She didn't want to talk or show any emotions or anything. So it was even harder trying to figure out what's going on, try how to make her happy.
Because a woman will love, like she will never leave. But when she finally does, it's like she never loved you. And the reason why it feels that way is because she's finally realized that her self-abandonment was the oxygen to that relationship, keeping it alive. And so her finally prioritizing herself feels like a direct attack on you, when really it should have never gotten to that point. So when you see a woman transform herself after a breakup, after a divorce, and it's like she became somebody else, it's because she did. She gave until there was nothing left of her to put back together. And so finally, when she rebuilds, she does it with a vision, with purpose, knowing I will never be that woman again.
I think that she should have took that time, not left the relationship, and tried to figure out how to fix the relationship. Instead of, emotionally giving all to the relationship, try to think logically about what you need, or how to physically change the relationship, because it's all on you. As a woman, it is all on you. If us guys do not get it, it's all on you to try to make us understand. I mean, yeah, it's our job to try to figure out what you need and listen and stuff too, but it's everybody's job to be understood. That's one of the things I teach my kids. Like, no, it's your job to pay attention and make sure that I'm understanding you and that you're understanding me. And it's my job to make sure I'm paying attention, understanding you, and you're understanding me. It's both parties' job to make sure the other person is understanding. So if you're not getting your point across, you're not making the other person understand, and you can see that, that's partly on you too. But she blames on the men, which I get, because it feels like it's the man's fault, because the man was told in some way, shape, or form many times, whether I don't know how it would make any logical sense to a man, in many situations, but in the woman's eyes, we were told over and over and over again. And I get that, but we got to figure out a better way to communicate.
And still, after all of this, men will say, she'll be back. Your father will be back with a milk before that happens.
Wow, that was a little mean. I think she's been hurt. Your dad will be back with the milk before that happens. You'll just kind of tell us, oh yeah, your daddy left you, and that's why you're messed up. It's like, wow, it's like all the gaslighting. Let's stop with the gaslighting. Let's try to figure this stuff out. Ladies, any suggestions on how to better communicate with men, anything that's worked in the past of how to understand what women need, please leave comments. I think that's going to be it for today. Please like and subscribe.